This podcast has stories of real-life events and true crime that happens every day. These stories may contain adult language and graphic or disturbing details not suitable for everyone. Listener discretion is advised.
132 in Bush, I've got him at gunpoint. They're pulling them out.
10-1-1. Advise ready for camp.
Another episode of War Stories. I'm Tom.
No, I'm Chuck.
And man, we had a nice little hiatus there. This is now, we're a couple weeks back from our hiatus. People were, I think, worried about us at one point. They thought, essentially, I had my daughter had another grandbaby. I was finishing out a show at the same time. Like, dude, I was
on my honeymoon.
Chuck was on his honeymoon. I was on stage, performing the show, and at intermission, I checked my phone at intermission backstage, and I got a text from my wife saying, "Hey, your daughter's water broke. They're on their way. It's happening, right?" And so then I went back on stage and did the whole second act, and then I was like, "Okay, I got to go. No, I'm not going to drinks afterwards. Bye."
Right.
So I got a new grandbaby. I named Hieronymus. Yeah.
Isn't that the Harry Bosch?
Yeah,
from Bosch.
Yes.
Hieronymus Bosch.
So my first grandson is Augustus, as Saint Augustine, right? My daughter and her husband are Orthodox, Saint Augustine, and so then they want to go with saint names and stuff. So we were watching. I told them Bosch is such a great show, and I worked on it. I'm a little biased, but it is a great show.
I'm biased because it's LAPD.
Well, but it is, dude. It's such a good detective. Like a look at the plots are bullshit, but the detective work is perfect.
It's done very well.
So I said, you guys got to check the show out. So they had just finished Sons of Anarchy, and I said, Jimmy O from Sons of Anarchy is in this show. He's the lead character. He's at LA, and they're like, oh wow, shit, we'll watch Jimmy O. They don't see him as Jimmy O anymore. They see him as Harry F. and Bosch. They love the by the 2 episodes in, they're hooked, right? So we binge all 7 seasons. I think it was around season 3 when they finally say Harry Bosch's full name, which is Hieronymus.
Yeah,
my daughter
a lot more in the last season.
And so my daughter looked at my son-in-law and goes, Hieronymus is his real name? And so he looked it up, and Hieronymus is the Latin version of Jerome for Saint Jerome. So it's a saint name. And so they went with Hieronymus, and we call him Harry. So Harry and Augie, cheers, boys.
That's a badass name. I like the Harry and Augie. I like the shortened versions. Yeah.
I told my son-in-law, I said, I'm just calling him Bosch, and nobody will know why.
Yeah, dude.
I figured it's Nemo. You could call him Nemo. Hieronymus, you could call him Nemo. Yeah. How was your honeymoon? Because we have a guest waiting. I want to get
it was long. It was long. I'm glad to be back. And then I had to go on a bachelor party, which I didn't want to go on. I mean, it's cool. I just didn't want to go on because it was like so close from coming back. I literally had 3 days with my kids, and I missed my kids, and it was stuff, So I'm glad to come back. And I felt like even though I had all that time spent with my wife, I felt like I didn't spend any time with her because we were busy all the fucking time. And I was tired and whatever, but I'm glad to be back.
Sounds terrible.
And I just rushed in here today. Daughter was at jujitsu, got my kids involved in jujitsu, and my second youngest is better than my son.
Well, I will be making my first trip back to the People's Republic of California, Stan, this month. Well, I will have, when this comes out, I will have made my trip. I have to go back for a wedding.
Is that the wedding? Did that wedding get canceled? Or is this another one?
No. It was a different wedding. I get to go to beautiful Temecula.
Oh, Temecula's fucking nice.
No, it isn't. Anyway.
Yes, it is. The wine out there, dude. Come on. I'm a fucking wine guy.
I'm going to tell you right now, though, Chuck, our guest for this week, though, he is probably one of the smartest people, I think. We've had some smart people on the show.
Yes.
We just recently had a guy who... we just talked about it. He was talking about some technology that he'd worked on, and during the interview, he realized that he had probably said more detailed facts than he meant to, and so texted us and was like, "Hey, can you smart guy. But our next guest for today's episode, or for this week's episode, he's a Marine who kind of bucks the stereotype, right? What flavor crayons was he eating? Because this is probably another one of our smartest guests we've ever had.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Tony's a United States Marine Corps veteran, and he is the CEO of I want to say, let's just add him.
Agent Waves, right? Yeah.
Agent Waves, PeakNeuro founder.
Wait, hold on. I gotta go grab my wife for the genius comment. I want her to hear that.
Wait, did we? So is it PeakNeuro is the product and Intelligent Waves is the company?
No, they are both companies.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Neuro is also the technology. Let's, if you want to get through the rest of it, I can tell you the story, or I can tell you now. It's,
No. Let's do, because that was just a random, because I didn't want to say the wrong thing. But
I'm the CEO of Intelligent Waves.
We'd love for you to tell us all that stuff, because we don't want to say it wrong, and clearly,
Just
I don't have the crayons to write it out for Chuck.
Right. Well, I got it right. And CEO of Intelligent Waves and PeakNeuro founder.
There you go.
Not a
correct.
Sorry, I wrote it down in crayon right here on my notepad.
Okay. So, Tony, I assume that the Marine Corps was before becoming a CEO.
That's correct.
So why don't you talk to us a little bit about, because I'd love to get into your time in the Marine Corps. We're going to get into some stories, but I actually, we usually start with how people get into the Marine Corps, but I'd actually like to know about how you went from, real quick, how do you go from the Marine Corps to being the CEO of PeakNeuro, or founder of PeakNeuro and Intelligent Wave CEO?
Definitely tied to the Marine Corps.
It looks a lot like Forrest Gump. Same kind of movie. Yeah. Forrest Gump with guns. Think of it that way.
Well, okay.
I mean, I'll tell you the longer version. I know you want to know how did I get in the Marine Corps story. So tell you, I have a kind of interesting background for a CEO too. I grew up in South Philadelphia during the era, actually, when Rocky was made, the movie Rocky. And that's the neighborhood that I'm from, the neighborhood that Rocky ran in. So when you see him run down 9th Street with all the people throwing him oranges and stuff, that's 3 blocks from where I grew up.
Oh, wow.
So basically, I grew up in a Sopranos episode.
So I have a question then.
Yeah.
Does that mean that you are a fan of the Broad Street Bullies?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I'm from Philly.
Wanted to check.
Of course I am.
I just wanted to check. Eric Lindros is probably one of my favorite hockey players of all time.
Well, I go back to like the Dave Schultz era, where the real Broad Street Bullies.
Right. No. Lindros was on the Legion of Doom. Totally different than the Broad Street Bullies. But as much as I'm an LA fan, Chuck is now bored because it's hockey talk, but as much as I am an LA fan,
I played hockey, dude.
Philly has always been my mistress team. Like, if I rooted for an East Coast team, it was always Philly. So
I played hockey, bro. I'm not bored. I played hockey. I played hockey really well. If my high school had a fucking team, I would have played instead of football. Because my heart is more in hockey than it was in football. I just went in football.
Tony, how did you join the Marine Corps?
So I grew up in South Philly till I was about 10, 11 years old. My parents divorced. My father was a mechanic. My cousins were mechanics. My grandfather was a mechanic. When I was 13 years old, my father took me aside and said, "Anthony, it's a good thing you're smart, because if you had to make a living with your hands, you'd fucking starve. So go to college."
No fucking way, dude.
Oh, that's a true story, dude.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Love your father already.
My grandfather, who was born in 1900, grew up on a farm in South Jersey. And when he was 17 years old, he knew he didn't want to be a farmer. That was a terrible life. So he ran away. He stole an Indian motorcycle and went to Philadelphia. He apprenticed to be a mechanic and worked for Cadillac like in 1918. And over the years, he started to have like a little side business. And I guess he got married in 1922 to my grandmother. 1929 September, every Saturday, he worked 7 days a week. Every Saturday, he'd open up his own shop. Called my grandmother and said, "I need a new car. I'm going to buy a new car." My grandmother says, "Well, take all the money out of your business account. I'm not giving you any money." So early September 1929, he takes $6,500 out of the bank. And instead of buying a car, the stock market crashes. So he buys an entire city block. And he retired when he was 45 and bought a farm, which I always thought was the most ironic thing that ever happened. But
To buy the farm?
Because he didn't want to be a
pretty much,
farmer.
yeah. Well, my grandfather, for a guy with 3 years of education, was one of the early entrepreneurs. He was a really interesting guy. So I grew up in this sort of big Italian family, like a Sopranos episode, very blue collar. My parents got divorced. My mother remarried a naval officer, and actually he was a supply officer. So if you're military, you probably know what kind of guy that looks like. And we moved around a lot. I went to 5 high schools. Spent 4 years in Hawaii. And when we were in Hawaii, it was during the Vietnam War. And my stepfather had served, I think it was on the Iwo Jima, off the coast of North Vietnam. They're sitting in the wardroom one night, him next to his little buddy, Stephen Pless, who was this Marine captain who was a UE pilot. He's a helicopter pilot.
Mm.
And they're watching a John Wayne movie. And all of a sudden, lights go on, the alarms go off. There's a couple of platoons of Marines getting cut up on a beach in North Vietnam. The NVA have them pinned down. They can't go in the water because there's sea snakes and sharks. So they send a CH-46 and 2 UEs, 2 UE gunships to go get them. 46 gets shot up. It's crippled. It goes back with nobody on it. The other UE gets shot down. And here's Steve Pless. Now, he's 5'7", a $140, soaking wet. He's flying his helicopters, hovering over the beach, shooting his guns, and the Marines that are still alive are crawling under the fire to get into the skids into this UE that holds, I think they hold like 12 people. They probably had twice as many on that.
Oh, Jesus.
So meanwhile, everybody's shooting at him. And if you're in the military, first thing they tell you when you get in a helicopter is don't lean back because you'll pierce the skin. All the armor's up around the crew compartment and the engines. So he gets this thing back to the aircraft carrier, and the skids are hitting the water as he does it, and finally gets back high enough to slam onto the flight deck, gets out of the helicopter, walks into the debriefing room, takes off his helmet, and an AK round falls out of his helmet. And he sits down to get the debriefing, and they're counting the holes in his helicopter. It's like 420 holes in his helicopter. Somehow didn't get shot down. So I'm hearing this story, and it turns out he's on his way back now to Pensacola because they're gonna put him in jets, and also he's getting the Medal of Honor. So he spent a week with us, with my family, and I just thought he was the coolest guy I ever met. He was like my size, and I was in high school. He's one of those, you look at him and you're just like, this is the guy you don't fuck with. He was funny and fun and not scared of anything. And he was like John Wayne in a little package, pretty cool guy. So he really inspired me because I thought of all the places I had been and people I had met. First of all, he not only was he a character, but he had character. And that was very inspiring.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, when he was in Pensacola, he was riding his motorcycle a lot. He was a motorcycle guy. And he had a little too much to drink and tried to jump the bridge in Pensacola and then realized it's not a drawbridge, it's the bridge that lifts up. And so he went into the water and was killed. But every witness to that event swore that he screamed "Hoorah" all the way down.
Oh,
I
would not doubt it.
That's the most Marine shit I've ever heard.
Yeah, man. So
Holy
for me,
shit.
that was very inspiring. And then it was in my first year of college, and I made a wrong turn at a waiter Charles Kuralt lecture and ran into an officer recruiter. And next thing I knew, I was down in Quantico doing the PLC program. And really, more or less, despite my parents, because they're Navy, and I thought that would really piss them off. And by the way, boys and girls, if you're listening to this, don't do that. It's a bad idea.
What, going into the men's department?
Yeah, well, it doesn't. Well, if you think you're doing it despite your parents, it's not going to turn out the way you think it might. So, look, I had a great experience in the Marine Corps. Don't get me wrong, but I tell people today, and I don't know about you, Chuck. You probably met a bunch of kids who say, "Hey, you think I'd be good for the Marine Corps?" And I might have met 2 that I would recommend that to. But normally, what I tell people is, let me duplicate a 4-year enlistment for you in 5 minutes. 4 minutes to heat up a knitting needle till it's red hot, and then stick it in your eye for a minute and spin it like that. And that's 4 years in the Marine Corps. And it feels really good when you take it out.
Yeah.
Chuck, am I right?
Yeah, you're right. When I got to the fleet, I was like, boot camp is over. What the fuck is this? It was bad, and it was fucking rough. And I then fast forward a few more years, got into the law enforcement and went into the academy, and I was like, this is fucking cake, dude. And people are like, oh, what the, aren't you like stressed out? I was like, the Fleet Marine Corps was harder than this for 4 years. That shit was, it was rough. Like, you got fucked up every single week, multiple times a week. And it wasn't just like, hey, you're in the Marine Corps, you're in the fleet now, like, let's go to work. It was, hey, let's go to work and play fuck games all day because we're bored and we need to laugh, or, you know, it's just a way to get things done, and you do it by the numbers because you can have complete control over everything. And it's just, it's definitely a lot like that. Love it, but it's definitely a love-hate relationship when you got to promote, because you don't want to be playing those fuck games the whole time.
It's intense.
Yeah, it's fun.
Well,
So that was
It's fun.
that's my Marine Corps origin story. Unfortunately for me, while I had completed both courses of the PLC program and was ready to get my commission, with 1 semester to go, I got kicked out of college. I ran out of money. I was working 2 jobs. I couldn't afford the tuition. With 1 semester to go, I lost my ability to get a degree. So I enlisted and went to boot camp, which is always an adventure.
Advance on your GI Bill.
They didn't have a good GI Bill back then. It sucked. There was GI Bill back then. It was awful.
It was not like it is now.
Well, you know, I just figured I'd enlist and I'd finish when I was in school, and then I'd apply for the MESEP program, Marine Enlisted Commissioning Program. I thought that would go pretty well for me. Almost did.
Yeah, be a Mustang.
Yeah, but we know when almost counts.
Yeah, you got that right. So I enlisted in the Marine Corps. Going through boot camp is interesting because you already know pretty much everything they're going to tell you. And when the drill instructors see that you're an officer candidate school graduate, that does not make your life easier than anybody else's. In fact, it makes it pretty hard. In fact, I'll tell you, for most of boot camp, Chuck, you know what a scribe is, right? When you're in boot camp?
Yep.
Yeah, I was a scribe, so I barely ever got to PT because they figured, hey, this guy passes all the tests. He knows what he's doing. We'll just make him the house mouse and the slave. And basically, that was my 3 months of boot camp. I was an undergraduate. That was nice, but and the only reason for that was I could shoot.
Wait a minute, Chuck. I just realized that it's the first time I have heard a non-law enforcement veteran use the phrase "house mouse."
House mouse that's the first time I heard it was in boot camp. Scribe,
Yeah.
house mouse.
So
He was the one who would go get the shit out of lockers.
Because I've never heard another veteran who hasn't been a cop say house mouse. Yeah.
Oh,
it might be a Marine Corps thing. Yeah.
it's definitely because
yeah.
that's where I heard it.
Definitely a
obviously.
Marine Corps thing.
Well, and that's what I mean. Like it Marine Corps veterans probably brought it into the law enforcement world, because that's where I always heard it was house mouse is the cop that can't leave the station. Right. And that was the only context in which I had ever heard it. And every person I've ever heard use the phrase house mouse on this show has been a veteran who was also a police officer. This is the first time I've ever heard somebody who was never a police officer but was a veteran ever utter house mouse. So, hey, that's a clue.
Interesting.
Yeah. Interesting.
Okay.
I never knew that.
So
Anyway,
I would say I had an unusual Marine Corps career. It wasn't in for an entire career, but for the time I was in, it was very unusual.
How long total?
8 years altogether.
Okay.
5 years active. So I went to boot camp. I was an 0211 at the time. It was I think it was called an 0231. They don't have my MOS either, and every unit I ever served with doesn't exist anymore. Even that I was on a sea duty on the USS America, which used to be an aircraft carrier. Now it's like a littoral ship. So not even the ships I was on exist anymore.
They have the names exist, but the ships don't. Right.
Well, it's really fun to go to the Marine Corps Museum, and you're old when you look around and there's a picture of you in there, because they have a bunch of pictures of guys who were deployed to Beirut in there. It shows
Oh shit! You went to Beirut?
Oh, yeah.
That's me, dude.
Yeah.
Love it.
And you walk in, and I walk in. We took a friend who'd never even served in the military who wanted a tour. And here's like an old Jeep, the old M151, which was still in service when I was in the Marine Corps. And he walks in and goes, "Cool, World War II."
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So I worked with a SWAT operator.
Yeah.
He's a deputy sheriff in the county where I was a cop, city cop. We taught at an advanced officer safety and tactics course. So cops from all over state would come and learn. That's where I met him. And then sheriff's department, police department, we would run into each other on the street and stuff like that. Marine Corps veteran and SWAT operator on the sheriff's department. And he told me, and I could not believe this, that the Hueys that he was riding in during his era, and he was only about 5 years older than me, still had bullet holes in them from Vietnam.
Doesn't surprise me, dude.
That doesn't surprise me either.
Doesn't
Is it
surprise me.
serviceable? Put it away.
Yeah.
Now, I found that so hard to believe until until I later on was working on a film and they needed K-bar knives, and so I had to call K-bar, and I said, "Hey, I have a question for my job, blah, blah, blah." I made a connection. I was able to get some knives for the film, whatever. But I said, I need to know something for this film. And he says, what? And I said, well, we have a bunch of World War II K-bars, and I am looking for confirmation that a World War II K-bar is identical to a Vietnam K-bar. And he goes, oh, yeah, it is. And I said, okay, what do I tell them? I need to confirm it. And he goes, well, turns out K-bar made so many K-bar combat knives during World War II that they didn't have to manufacture another K-bar until the late 70s, because all they were doing was selling old stock that they had manufactured for World War II. So they made so many K-bars, they had 40 years worth of inventory. I believe the Huey story now.
Yeah, to be quite honest, when I got into the Marine Corps, when I got into the fleet, they were still handing shit out that it's from Vietnam. Like, and I was like, what the fuck? You're giving me a flak jacket that was used in Vietnam? Get the fuck out of here, dude.
Hey, I wore those all the time.
Yeah.
I remember getting C ration packages with cigarettes in them.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was crazy. I was like, what the fuck? And then our vehicle, the last update it had before I got there was Vietnam. And now that vehicle is no longer used in the Marine Corps. They have since switched vehicles, and that vehicle that I trained on, drove, commanded is now obsolete. They do not use it anymore. It is gone. They have now phased it out and phased in the new ECV.
Well, Chuck, I want to turn this over to you two, and I'm just going to get some popcorn and relax, because Tony was a Marine during a very unique era of military history, because I think during that era, there were a lot of things going on, and very few of which were publicly acknowledged. So I'm more than happy to. Chuck, please, you too. Tony, we would love to hear these stories, because that is a totally different era of Marine Corps-ing than a lot of what the people we know are used to.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, it's actually one long story with a number of chapters. How's that?
I love it.
So
you went to Lejeune, yeah?
Say again?
You went to Camp Lejeune, yeah?
Yeah, I was in Lejeune. I was with 4th CIT in Lejeune. I was with 3rd Land Battalion up in Cherry Point, 2nd FAD Battery, 2nd Battalion, 24th Marines up in New York, Gulf Battery, 314.
Jesus.
In Trenton.
Trenton, New Jersey? Holy shit.
Yep. And Marine Wing Weapons Unit 2, which doesn't
Where'd you go to boot camp?
Paris Island.
Okay, yeah.
You're 3rd Battalion. How about you? Did you go to the gay battalions? Should I probably? You guys need to delete that.
Was that 1st or 2nd?
We have to.
And Paris
We'll
Island?
bleep it. We'll bleep it.
Bleep it, please.
I was Delta. Was it 1st or 2nd Battalion? All I know is that I don't remember, but I had a view of the road coming in, that bridge. I had a view of that out my window. Battalion. Yeah, so I was 1st Battalion, Delta Company. So yeah, that was cool. I still remember the second deck. I can if I remember that squad bay vividly, and Paris Island vividly. It looked like something out of a movie, and I definitely did get to stay in the same barracks that they filmed Full Metal Jacket in.
Yeah, where you could drive a truck through there. Where I, on the other hand, was in 3rd Battalion out in a swamp where nobody can hear you scream, and the squad bays look like your closet.
Oh shit! Hey, I hiked over there one
3rd.
time.
They call that thumping 3rd.
That place. Oh man.
So I just to kind of continue the crazy story for the Marine Corps.
Oh no,
so I
I'm
wound up-
enjoying so much. Please, and take your
I
time.
wound up when I was at Land Battalion, getting attached to 2nd Fad Battery to support. This is during Beirut when they were afraid they were going to fly planes into the ships like Cessnas and stuff. So they sent a platoon of red eye gunners and Stinger gunners out to Beirut. And so I would rotate in and out with them. It was in and out for a year in Lebanon. And then when after that year was up, which Chuck, you know, your first duty station is like 4 years. It's my year with Land Battalion. I got a permanent change of station orders to go to Marine Wing Weapons Unit 2, which is back in the day, that was the unit that put the nuclear, biological, and chemical weapons on planes that we didn't say we had. And it was interesting. They were kind of great duty. You know, the Marine one quarter of the Marine Corps is always ready to go to war. So every 4 days, if you're enlisted, you got the duty and you're stuck in the squad bay, can't do anything. But this place, it took like 45 minutes to get through all of the security to get in there. It was 2 Quonset huts in the middle of nowhere in Cherry Point.
Yeah, I was about to say the Cherry Point. Yeah.
Yeah, basically, you had one duty day where you sat in this Quonset hut and could watch every movie because they got every channel on satellite. And then we PT 4 days a week and watch Victory at Sea after we PT, and then practice on doing some of the stuff we're doing. It's really good duty. And maybe 45 days, 60 days after I got there, I got a permanent change of station order to instructor duty in Trenton, New Jersey. Interestingly enough, I also got orders to go to see my monitor, who was in Quantico, or not in Quantico, in Washington. And the monitor, if you don't know, is the person who decides who goes where. He's like the HR guy who places you in different units.
How did this happen to you? Was it because you were originally in like OCS, or you graduated from OCS from the candidate school?
I have no idea.
How the fuck?
But I was pretty good at what I did. As a corporal, I had 5050 proficiency in contact marks, and that doesn't.
What was your hold on? What was your ASVAB score? Was it like off the charts?
Dude, I took the ASVAB like hungover, so I don't even know.
You probably got like a perfect score.
The CEO of a tech company, his ASVAB score was nuclear.
This was like.
I'm surprised you weren't in intelligence.
He
wasn't Marine.
I was a counterintelligence Marine.
There you
go. 02.
Okay.
So turns out I'm going to Trenton because this is the beginning of when we automated stuff, really the computer era. And when the Marine Corps was automating things. So I worked on a computer that was portable. And by portable, I mean it fit in a Jeep.
Sure.
It had a giant 8-inch diskette. And I was pretty good at that. So the Marine Corps actually sent me to learn programming, even though I was in the intelligence. I had an intelligence.
Wait. The Marine Corps sent you to computer programming school in a DOS era Marine Corps.
Oh yeah, they had a programming school back then.
No, I know, I get it. I get it. I'm just. It's to the idea that they would send you to as a counterintelligence guy back then. Like that's way forward thinking of like if you're counterintelligence, you need to be able to write computer code. Like it's just so well thought out even back then.
I really wish they were as smart as they thought they were, but that's not why they did it.
Well, why did they do it?
It turned out that I apparently had an ASVAB score that people thought I'd be good at this. So I got trained up in how the mainframe programs worked. And for reservists, there's something called the Reserve Manpower Management System, where they track all of the reservists. And then the Marine Corps back then, I'm not sure what it's like now after all the wars, but the one thing I loved about the reserves was to join a reserve unit in the Marine Corps as an enlisted person You have to have had an honorable discharge, good service record.
Yes.
And it's the best of the enlisted Marines, and it's all the captains that didn't augment. So you got all the worst officers and the best enlisted people, and they're not bad. They're not all bad, but it was always an irony for me. But it turned out there were some issues around payroll and how the payroll stuff was working. They were losing money. So I wound up getting assigned to work for NIS, or I guess you know it as NCIS, but back then they called it the Naval Investigative Service.
Yes.
And so I got a kind of interesting background inserted into my service record book. I got transferred up there, and I was the most junior Marine on a staff of 10, led by a captain. It was an artillery battery, led by a captain, first sergeant, master sergeant, couple of one gunnery sergeant, bunch of staff sergeants, and me. And I was a corporal, which is kind of, you need to be a sergeant to be on independent duty, but somehow they wound up sending me there. So I got up there,
right?
Yeah, and so the thing is, back then, if you didn't like it as a reserve member, you could just drop out. You could just call them and say, "I'm going to go from the active reserve to the ready reserve," as long as your end of required service was done. Right. So people would come in and out all the time, and it turned out that the administrative chief, who was my boss, because now I'm a clerk. I'm an 0131 unit diary clerk, and I'm doing payroll for the reserve unit and training reservists when they're there. So this gunnery sergeant was apparently creating people who didn't exist in the system.
Oh shit!
And dropping them 3 days before the audit would happen, because the audit happened on 90 days. He'd create somebody. Back then, you had just little crappy ID cards. They weren't all, didn't have computer chips in them. So he had a safe, and he would make up an ID card, and he'd toddle over to Broad Street National Bank, and he would cash the checks.
Gosh,
that's how. This is about 8 or 9 months of me trying to figure out what the hell this guy's doing.
That's nice.
And we sort of set him up a little bit. We had somebody come and fake repossess my car, and I would always talk about not having any money. And so he said, "Oh, I got a pretty good way for you to do this." And
oh my gosh! So were you working with NIS at that time too?
Yeah, I had an NIS control agent who, interestingly enough, was a reserve major, and I would go meet him at like a pizza shop by the airport. Right. Or I'd meet him in a mall on a Saturday, but I didn't talk to him very much. The battalion commander knew who I was. Nobody else did.
Is this where the undercover portion came in?
Yeah, this is it.
So you were working as an like the books and stuff, but you were actually, your real assignment was NIS. So you were over here doing
to
this
find out how they were stealing money.
Oh my gosh! The layers of that is insane.
So this guy, about a year in, he and I, we walk over to the Broad Street Bank. We both got a bunch of checks to cash, got some ID cards, just everything's going good. But every teller in the bank is a 45-year-old NIS agent. So, he does his thing. I'm like, oh, great. Can I go back to the fleet now? Because I really like being a Marine. I like being in the fleet. It was fun. I really enjoyed it. And so I went back. My control officer was in the Navy Yard in Philadelphia when it was open. So I went down to the Navy Yard to go what I thought would be my checkout, and I could go back and go back to my real work. What I was told was, no, there was a sergeant there who had seen something that gave them some suspicion that there was some drug use and drug selling and stuff going on. Now, Chuck, I don't know what it was like when you were in, but we got a piss test every month, and there was no faking that piss test.
So we had piss tests, but it wasn't every month. It was random, so that you couldn't beat it. And we had one like, I was like 2 or 3 times a year. And generally it was after you generally knew when they were coming, because it was after like a 120. When I say 120, that's just an extended period of time off, like for Christmas and New Year's and things like that. You'd get a 120, and then you'd come back, and then they'd be like, hey, piss in a cup. Or sometimes they would switch it, and they do 120 and then 196, and they'd piss test you. But it was like generally 3 times a year.
Yeah. Well, we got it every month because we were in independent duty. So it turned out we had a Navy corpsman attached to the staff who did the piss tests, and the first sergeant was paying them. So they were bringing in cocaine from a bunch of different places and selling it and using it. And they would take
doesn't surprise me.
The Navy corpsmen would take their bottles of piss over to the first sergeant's house, and they would swap out their kids' urine for theirs. And that's how they got through the piss tests.
Holy shit.
So it took almost another year and a half of, going to every crazy bar you can imagine with these guys, partying with them, doing all kinds of stuff. Along the way, they sort of found out. They started to, look at me, and we had somebody tell them that when I was stationed in Okinawa, that I smoked opium with a bunch of people they know. And of course, I had never even been to Okinawa. It's just a thing that we made up. But we also told them that I had a hookup at the Naval Drug Screening Laboratory. So, we're collecting evidence, and then one day we go on a burial detail and come back, and the place is swarming with NIS agents, and everybody's getting arrested. And so they open the charge sheets, and oh shit, it's 4 witnesses, and I'm one of them. And they get relieved, and they get moved like 10 miles away to the battalion headquarters. And turns out the Marine Corps wasn't really well staffed back then, so maybe a couple of them are coming back. And by the way, the battalion commander who set this whole thing up transferred to Okinawa. So a new guy comes in, he doesn't even know who I am. So they think I'm a clerk. And oh, by the way, we can't move you anywhere. My name is on every charge sheet. We can't move you anywhere because you got to stay here and do this work. And I'm 25 feet away from the guy I just testified against who lost a strike, that gunnery sergeant. Right? He's my boss, literally my boss at this time.
Oh, fuck.
So there were 4 witnesses. 2 of the witnesses, I would say one died under mysterious circumstances. They drunk and drove into a bridge piling, but he was an alcoholic and hadn't had a drink in 10 years. And the other one just disappeared. So I was kind of one of the 2 witnesses left that could even go testify. And I was still forced to go to this office with these people. So I started writing letters to my congressman. I wrote letters to the Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps. Nothing happened. They did move the first sergeant over someplace, and they got a new first sergeant. And Chuck, you know this. Marine Corps is real small, and everybody knows everybody by the time you're a career Marine. So this guy had a friend, and his friend was a new first sergeant, and they really did a pretty good job of trying to make my life miserable. I was ambushed twice. Literally ambushed twice. Like, you want to know my worst firefight? Trenton, New Jersey on Route 29. Just New Jersey.
Oh, shit, really?
You're driving home and getting your truck shot up. Yeah, that's a lot of fun.
Well, I mean,
holy shit.
So, but Chuck, you know this is a lot of how many cops in LA, the biggest firefight they get into is on their way home.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, I've had a
LAPD is not a police department, it's an occupying army, much the same.
Yeah, but to get it by your own people is fucking wild.
Well, think of it this way. The way I described those almost 3 years for me, the guys who've been downrange in like Iraq, imagine you're going to go, you're going to clear a house. And so you got your stick of 12 guys, you might have a corpsman with you, and you're the first in line. And the lieutenant walks up and says, hey, take off your sappy plates and your body armor. All right, now give me your helmet. Put that rifle down. All right, here's a pistol. All right, now you go in alone every day for 3 years. Is what that was like. So never really knowing, especially like when you're out at night with these guys partying, like you don't know what they know. You don't know if you're going to walk out of a room you walk into.
That's insane. And some people are probably thinking like, oh, the military, there's not drugs and shit like that happening. Yes, there is.
Oh, back then, yeah.
Fuck, when I was in. We lost a captain to heroin use. And then a guy in my unit named Oganga Sykes, I don't know if I can say his name. That dude started snorting bath salts, hung my buddy off a fucking 3rd deck wreck by his throat. I fucking had to help PMO when they came on, which is the MPs, search his fucking room and toss his room because I was his NCO at the time. And he got busted down from a sergeant, all the way down. So I was in charge of this motherfucker, and he was bigger than me. Dude, that guy was so stacked. I was afraid of him. I was like, if he really wants to, he's going to fucking kill all of us. Like, he's nuts. And we had to go through all this shit. We found bath salts and drugs in his place. That happened. Then I had another sergeant who was a sergeant of mine who got busted down and brought back up to sergeant. He got busted for meth and manufacturing meth. And then we had another guy in our fucking unit. And then he got kicked out. And fucking we had plenty more do crazy shit. And then when I left, they found an alligator, which is actually kind of fitting because our mascot's an alligator because we're amphibious, in a fucking wall locker, a hooker in a wall locker, a fucking, I think found another hooker dead in the trunk of a car, and then a bunch of dope of cocaine, like kilos of cocaine, somewhere like in a fucking dumpster or some crazy shit. And I was like, dude, this is fucking wild. So this shit does happen in the military. It's a lot more prevalent than you think. So what he's saying is not bullshit or anything like that. If you're thinking like, this is fucking, I've never heard none of this happens. It's definitely
gets worse
happens.
than that. Gets worse than that.
Holy shit.
Old first sergeant goes away. New first sergeant comes in. He's trying to make me pretty miserable. He's doing all kinds of crazy shit around me. And at this point, you can probably imagine I'm pretty pissed. Like I'm at a point where I'm just fuck you, shoot me kind of a thing.
Right.
I was probably deserving of some of the things that they were thinking about, but as I also, by the way, every day had to go down to the Navy Yard and be deposed by the defense counsel of these people who are all getting court-martialed. So that's always fun when you're in a room full of Navy lieutenants and you got three rows and one ribbons and they got nothing on their shirt and they're trying to talk to you about, basically trying to piss you off. And I remember one of them was like, oh, you think you're tough or something? And I said, listen, it's time for lunch, Lieutenant. I'm gonna go across the street to the gym. You want to join me? Maybe give me a little instruction and manly things like boxing. And of course, he didn't do anything, but that's where I was. I was pretty angry. And at some point, they were running out of things to do. So they sent me to the Philadelphia Naval Hospital to get a psychiatric evaluation because they said I was unstable. And they might not have been wrong at that point. Anyway, I walk in the examination room. There's a Navy captain, this nice lady Navy captain. They're giving me a bunch of psychometric tests. And she says, I really can't see anything, that's wrong with you. And I explained to her, I said, let me tell you something. Let me tell you what's going on. I got a bunch of people who I'm testifying against. They're trying to kill me and I got to go to work every day. And she's looking at me like I am crazy. So I walk over to the wall in the examination room, dial 9, and I call my NIS control officer. And he gets on the phone with her and she goes, holy shit, I can't believe this. Well, I can give you 2 weeks medical leave, not charged as regular leave. You don't even have to go back there. You can just go disappear for 2 weeks. So she does. She puts me on leave and I can check out by telephone. And the day before I'm supposed to come back from leave, the new first sergeant calls and says, hey, you're UA. And for those of you who don't know the Marine Corps, UA is the equivalent of AWOL, right? I'm missing.
Yeah.
So I said, I'm not supposed to be in until tomorrow. He goes, no, you're supposed to be in today. Get in here now. And I come in, and believe it or not, while I was gone, they found all these things that I didn't do. And all these, like when you're you get these collateral duties, the recreation NCO, right? I didn't do this paperwork, I didn't do that paperwork. So they're gonna NJP me. They're gonna give me office hours so they can impeach my testimony. And I said, yeah, you know what? I think I'm gonna ask for a court martial. So they flew in a lawyer from 4th Marine Division. I had a court martial that started at 4 p.m. and lasted until 6 p.m. There were like 14 charges, 26 specifications, disobedience of orders, all this crazy stuff. And I got convicted of being 20 minutes late to work and fined $20. And 15 minutes after that court martial was over, my monitor called and said, hey, your congressman wrote a letter to the Marine Corps and I have instructions to send you anywhere in the world you want to go. And I said, send me to the closest place in my home.
Fucking finally.
Because fuck you, I'm getting out. And they transferred me to Garden City, New York. I lost all my security clearances. They made me a clerk. I was a files clerk. Sat in a room with no windows, all by myself for about 7.5 months. Nobody wanted to talk to me. Came from this unit in the Marine Corps where almost everybody went to jail and the CO got relieved. And 8 months to the day after that happened, in walked one of the aides to the commandant, PX Kelly. He had a check for $20 and a notice that they had overturned my court martial, a certificate of commendation from PX Kelly, a medal, and a copy of the letter of apology that the commandant had written to my mother. And then I was meritoriously promoted. And I don't know how much you know about counterintelligence in the Marine Corps, but once you're out, they don't let you in. And I actually went down and interviewed, and I got accepted back into counterintelligence teams down in Fort CIT down in Lejeune. Fortunately for me, I really was worried when my time was up, or if I re-enlisted, all these guys had friends. What was I going to do? And out of the blue, I get a phone call. Remember, I learned computer programming, right, from a recruiter from a company in New York. I'm in Garden City, New York. That's on Long Island. Did I want to come and work for this technology company? And it was like 4 times what a Marine sergeant made. So I got out, and I went to work in technology for 3 guys who were the craziest people, civilians I'd ever met in my life. And they taught me so much in 3 years. That company was the largest M&A transaction 3 years later. They sold it to Amdahl, this big technology company, $140 million.
Wow.
They sold it for. I got a big check. Just a great experience. I will tell you,
Well, you got lucky.
because I know. Well, I don't know about luck. Well, I don't know how lucky I was. When I got out,
fucked, and then you got pretty lucky. I mean, I look at that. Like,
it turned out better for me
view
than some of those other guys. But my first job out of the Marine Corps was writing pill bottle quality control for Merck, the pharmaceutical company, in a room full of other programmers. And this is Jersey, so not everybody's, friendly and warm. And there's this kind of asshole guy in there. He's a data scientist, and drives a BMW, and he wears suits with no socks. And this is like late 80s too. So that's really kind of a douchebag. And he's very condescending to people. And, Chuck, you know this. There's no HR in the Marine Corps. Right? When you have a personal problem with somebody at work, you walk behind a squad bed, 15-minute exercise, go have a beer.
We fucking handle it.
That was my culture. So I look at the guy one day and say, hey, you talk to me like that again, I'll knock you the fuck out.
Yay.
And he kept going. So I got up and he started running. And if you know anything about Merck, their office building is 300 yards long. And he ran 300 yards through that building with me chasing him around the office farm, got in his BMW and drove away. And that's when I looked at my watch and went, this is the part of my career where I'm going to work for UPS because I'm about to get fired. And I go back to the thing. No cell phones yet. No, go back to my office. And 20 minutes later, the phone rings. It's my boss. Come upstairs. I need to talk to you. And I go up there and he's got this weird look on his face.
Oh my God.
So I said, well, tell me what happened. And I said, well, the guy's a condescending prick. And he was an asshole to everybody. And I just told him to stop it, and he wouldn't stop it. So I said, if you keep it up, I'm going to knock the shit out of you. And the guy starts laughing and says, well, I know you just got out of the military, and Marines are a little different than everybody else. And I know you weren't going to hurt him. And I looked at him and went, yeah, if I'd have caught him, I'd have beat the shit out of him. He laughed and said, well, be that as it may, he was kind of an asshole. So I just fired him. Go back to work. Don't hurt anybody.
Oh, shit.
I'm looking around going, what the hell just happened? Am I on candid camera? My boss was a retired Air Force colonel with 31 combat missions in Vietnam. But for him, I'd be driving that UPS truck. Probably couldn't get a job at UPS because I'd probably have a record or something. So, for me, that was kind of a transformational moment. Someone who had been out for a long time, who kind of saw through the behavior and saw who I was, gave me another chance. And that really changed the arc of my career. So it's an interesting guy.
Did it take a lot of the anger that I'm assuming that you had pent up from constantly getting screwed over in the military? I mean, you should have been out of that unit the moment you testified, the moment everything was blown. They should have taken you out. It's like that was super unsafe and not policy at all. Like that was completely against policy and procedures. And so I assume you had a lot of pent up anger and aggression. And then when that happened, did that kind of change your way of thinking? You're like, oh shit, there are actually good people out here that actually want to have my back. And that was that transformational moment that you were kind of talking about where everything kind of
no, not at all. That was like, oh, he's a dick, I'll beat the shit out of him. That was my reaction to almost everything. And it wasn't, I didn't know I had PTSD. I didn't know I was angry. I just thought, well, when somebody talks to you like that, the appropriate response is to smack the shit out of them. And that was, I can tell you now. So I did that. Then I came down here to Washington and I worked for a little consulting company, and we were competing against the world's 4th largest software company. And I just knocked the snot out of them because what do Marines learn? Asymmetrical warfare. They're a big company. Where they were strong, I stayed away. When they were weak, I just harassed the shit out of them. And they got so pissed off, they hired me. And I wound up as the chief technologist for the Federal System Division, working for one of the best bosses I ever had, who taught me so much. And we grew and did a great job. And then I wound up, it's a German company. So I wound up in Germany for a while, Hong Kong, Italy, France, Germany, and England. And the Germans used to call me Dirty Tony because they would send me to underperforming business units and I just fire everybody. So it was like I was killing everybody, like Dirty Harry. This is called
God.
Dirty Tony. Send him somewhere. Fire 300 people in France. And if you know anything about labor law in Europe, that ain't easy. That's a pain in the ass. So I was there for quite a while, and then I ran into a friend who had designed an interesting piece of technology. It was an n-dimensional financial analysis software, and we started a business, got some venture money, and sold it less than a year later. Did pretty well. The venture firm that backed us, I was like what I'd call a CEO in residence, and I was 33 at the time. I mean, I was still pretty young.
Wow.
And they dropped me into a company that was kind of interesting, founded by two founders, and they worked for Steve Jobs's company that failed, that you probably don't know of. It's called Next. He made it was like an Apple competitor, had an operating system and a computer.
I swear I've heard that company before.
Oh yeah, Next Step was the name of it. Steve Jobs' company really got kicked out of Apple. So two brilliant guys, but one of them was this freckle-faced kid from Chicago who grew up as a Presbyterian and rebelled against his parents and said, I don't want to be Presbyterian. I'm going to do a study in comparative religion. And you know what I think I'll be? Muslim. And this is before 9/11. So he's going to making the Hajj, and he's going over here and he's going over there and he's doing all this stuff. Meanwhile, we're raising money. We got venture money. And he calls me one day and says, hey, I know this college professor at the University of South Florida who represents a bunch of rich Saudi families. And, you know, he's Muslim, I'm Muslim, we're all good. And he's vetting opportunities. You should go talk to him. So I go talk to this guy, and it's kind of interesting. He was in the refugee camps in right around Lebanon. He's Palestinian. So it's kind of interesting. When I was there as a Marine, he was there as a refugee. So we got to know each other. I went all over the country raising money from people that they knew. Spent a month in Switzerland at private banks for wealthy Saudi families, and raised a significant amount of money from this guy. And then 9/11 happened, and about a week later,
nothing happened then.
Well, what I found out was the guy who was representing all of these Saudis' family was a guy named Sami Al-Arian. You can Google that name. Turns out Sami was the president of the Palestinian Islamic Jihad.
Oh. Fuck.
And he spent some time in Gitmo. So that was fun. That was that was my big smoky cloud. That was my Waterloo. But we did sell that company to Rational Software, which got bought by IBM. And that's a theme for me now. Half the stuff I've ever done gets bought by IBM. So I left there. I went to another company to open the government division because of my military background, called Initiate Systems. Wow. Initiate was really cool stuff. We were doing like very high end. And here's a funny thing. They were doing something called identity disambiguation. So if you go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, that I know what you're like. Identity disambiguation. I kind of know what this is. Yeah.
So if your name's Tony Crescenzo, you try going somewhere and having somebody not ask you how to spell the name. So a great example, you go to an emergency room in a hospital, you just want to get your kid treated and not have them killed. And they just want to get paid. So the lowest paid, least trained person in the hospital ecosystem is the lady who checks into the emergency room. So how many Tony Crescenzios, Anthony Crescendios are there in their system? So it was a technology developed to use what's called entity relationship probability theory to determine whether or not, like, do all those guys live at the same address? Do they have the same phone number? Do they drive a car? What attributes do they have that we can know to a certain extent that Anthony Crescenzo is Tony Crescenzo? Which around that time you're thinking, if I'm trying to find a guy named Sami Al-Arian and he goes to Mecca and makes the Hajj, he becomes Sami Al-Arian El-Hajj. Is that the same guy?
Right, of Hajj. Yeah.
So we turned that into a national security, law enforcement, intelligence technology. So I sold a lot of it to agencies like the FBI. And that company, interestingly enough, I wound up working on a project for the Naval Criminal Investigative Service for the director, whose name was David Brandt. And David Brandt, you might see if you ever watch the show NCIS, he's a technical advisor. He knows those guys. He parties with them.
Okay.
I didn't know him at the time. We were just working with him. And to the extent you get to work with somebody as a government contractor, we became kind of friends. And I never mentioned anything about, my Marine service. And eventually he retired. And when he retired, we were working on a deal to do the same kind of technology that we did for the Navy, for the FBI, something called the National Data Exchange, Law Enforcement Data Exchange,
Okay.
which you may know about
Yeah.
as cops. Essentially, it allows you to take state and local data into the federal ecosystem for analysis, for crime analysis.
Mhm.
So as we're working on that, I called Dave, and Dave was over at Deloitte running their, he was like teaching the new ATF director how to be a federal executive, a law enforcement executive, doing cool stuff. Dave's a great guy. So Dave calls me. I said, Dave, come on over, be on our team. It's $1 billion opportunity. You can make your bones at Deloitte. Everybody will love you for winning this. And he signs up. A year later, we win $1 billion contract. And Dave says, let's go to lunch. And we go to lunch. And
I have to stop you. I have to stop you because if I don't, we will never be able to circle back to this. And our listeners, okay, Chuck, the guy we're talking to just happens to gloss over the fact that what he's saying is that any law enforcement officer listening to this program, and of which we have a few, Tony invented NCIC.
No, that's not true.
Okay.
No, Tony didn't invent anything. Tony worked on Index.
Right.
Index, not NCIC. But I have worked at CGIS at the FBI.
What I'm saying is that Index complements these systems that allows them to talk to each other.
You fucking worked on the systems that I was trained in, because I was trained on like a fucking multitude of different systems working for a major law enforcement agency.
RMS and CAD systems. I was worked on those for years.
Yep. So I have all that NEX, RMS, all that CAD stuff, NCIC, fucking all of it. Gang databases, like Palantir.
If you go to work and you get on a computer and you start searching your database and you get a hit out of some other agency somewhere across the country,
that's Index.
Yeah. It's crazy. I used to work.
I just didn't want to gloss over. I didn't want to gloss over, like,
wow.
When it comes to CLETs, the CLETs and LETs, NCIC,
I had NEX, which had all of that.
Yeah, so many systems, and that I just wanted all the people listening to appreciate just a little bit of Tony's contribution, not only to the Marine Corps, but to law enforcement.
Wow, that's fucking amazing. And I know it's 57 minutes in. I mean, we could talk all fucking day.
We have to come back. Let's get to our dedication. Ask Tony to come back.
No, I want him to talk about
3 minutes. You got to let me talk about
the PeakNeuro and
no, that's what I'm saying. Like, do all the thing.
So I'll finish the Dave story. So I take Dave to lunch. We go to celebrate, and Dave says, "Hey, not for nothing, but when I was the director, your name's kind of funny. And I looked you up because I thought I knew who you are. And I did. And I was the director of undercover operations while you were in Trenton. And sorry.
Fuck, you
true
dick,
story.
dude.
So fast forward through a series of technology companies, mostly in the defense space. I've been a defense CEO for a very long time. I do a lot of work in Department of Defense and a lot of work in law enforcement, national law enforcement, building systems.
I'm picking your brain after this show, so you stick around.
Okay. Anybody who's
for a fee.
If you're a first responder, your wife probably knows this about you. So that guy who goes from 0 to fuck you in 10 seconds. Like, you don't want to get in a car with him because if you cut him off, it's on. And maybe his wife told him when he was 55 years old, he'd been in more fights than all the men she'd ever dated in her life combined. That was me.
That's me.
My first wife would tell you that. My second wife would tell you that. My daughter would tell you that. Nightmares, anger issues, go from this to that in 10 seconds. And because I missed Google directions to an intelligence agency I won't mention on your program, I wound up discovering a technology that in 6 days changed my life forever. After I used this, my wife, my ex-wife, my daughter, people who this is right after the pandemic, people who hadn't seen me for years would say, well, you just seem so different. Your energy's so different. You're calmer. What's going on with you? That was the transformational moment for me. That's what changed the way that I saw the world, the way I saw myself. And I essentially took what we learned from the thing that I went through and created, along with our co-founder, Bob Holbrook, an entirely new kind of technology called neuroacoustic brainwave entrainment. And how it works is that it you essentially entrained your brain waves through, might feel like vibration, or might feel like sound, but it's vibration. So you're listening to a piece of music, nature sound,
Okay.
and using neuroacoustic entrainment technology that we developed, and it's got a whole AI component to it. We're able to read your states of consciousness. We're able to look at PTSD on an EEG, basically, and help you by adjusting your brainwave. So we work with we're working with Division I football right now. We're in talks with the NFL. We're assisting. I've got you're going to see a TV show about this guy very soon. 24-year Navy SEAL, 21 TBIs, dozens and dozens of concussions, brain fog, sleeps 3 hours a night, and not all in a row. And in 6 weeks, his TBIs are 60% resolved. He sleeps 6 hours a night all the way through with no issues, no hypervigilance, and said to me after the first 6 weeks, I know I'm not broken. Now I know I'm not broken. Which is why I'm on this podcast right now. It's why I'm doing all the podcasts I'm doing. So PeakNeuro is the company we founded to develop this technology. And if you are a veteran, active duty, military, first responder, police, fire, any of those categories, you can go to www.peakneuro.com and download a trial of that for free and try it for yourself. And with this Navy SEAL, I just wrote a white paper for the 7th, 11th Human Performance Wing that we're demonstrating, and to the Defense Innovation Unit for the Department of Defense, where we can keep war fighters and police and fire, really, too, combat effective on 3 hours sleep. Because sleep is a big issue for everyone. It's a big issue in the military, especially if you're a fireman or a cop and you're on shift work. How's that work out for you? Like, sleep is really
it sucks. Your circadian rhythm disruption.
I'm not gonna lie. I want to do this.
Well, I mean, you can.
Well, I'll tell you what. I will make you both a deal.
Mm-hmm.
I will get you a personal copy. You try it for a month, 2 months, and then have me back, and you tell your listeners.
Wait a minute. I know exactly how to do this. Yeah. Okay, Chuck. We will do that. We will both do this. In fact, we will both do this. We can talk a little bit offline about another potential. But our previous co-host John
he would love it.
Anyway, we've got some people that I think the audience would like to hear from. But why don't we have Tony back?
Oh my God,
on Locker Room Live when his episode comes out. So people will be able to listen to the episode in the morning, watch the episode in the morning, and then they can tune in to our live show that night, and they can actually get the answers live.
Yeah.
What we're talking about.
So I'll tell you guys this right now.
And we'll have Tony.
And I know you've heard this from me, Tom, and I know some of our listeners have heard it, bits and pieces of it, but I've struggled with a lot of stuff. And it happened when I got injured and I was out for an extended period of time, and I tried a lot of different things, talk therapy. I've done ketamine therapy. I've done a lot of different things that were transformational, and ketamine kind of worked a little bit, but I was like, there's only so much flying around in fucking space that I can do. And so I figured, I was like, my fucking brain's broken. I feel like, a lot of things were off, and I've tried supplements. I've probably spent $10,000 in supplements over the last few years, maybe more. So if this works, I will give it an honest review. Because if it can help my brain, get unfucked, I would greatly appreciate it. And that would be amazing. So, I would love to speak with you more offline about it, because I think this would be amazing. And if it works and you come back on, I mean, that would be the biggest fucking testimonial. We'll cut that shit up for you in clips and give it to you.
So we will release this episode. And Tony, if you can come back, I know you're on the East Coast. One of our co-hosts is Central Time, so it would be an hour later for you. We might be able to bump the hour early. But what I would love to do, I would love to actually. So it's a live show. We have our friend Marco. Marco grew up with us, but he never served in the military. But Matt, he's our friend. Grew up with him, went to the Navy, and like most veterans, some go to the police academy, others go to prison. Matt went to prison, but turned his life around. And then Chuck and I, of course, Chuck's Marines, law enforcement. I'm law enforcement. So we will commit to trying it, doing it for a month, and then we'll have you back, and we will tell our audience, to Matt and Marco. We will tell Matt and Marco live on the show with Tony how this comes out. Agreed?
Whether it's sex or not, I don't blame you. Yeah, absolutely, agreed.
All right. I love it because I feel positive about this because I've heard. So this is early on, Tony, in the show, we heard about a lot of different programs. I think the first time I ever heard about, is it, I always get it. EMDR, EDMR?
EDMR.
EMDR. Okay. EMDR. This show, we were talking to a veteran who he had just undergone EMDR. And that was the first time I'd ever heard about it. So I've become fascinated, especially having been treated for PTSD before and all that stuff. I am 100% fascinated to see any technology that is not, here's an antidepressant that's going to make you impotent and cause you to gain weight.
I can't even take those.
I hope things get better.
Yeah.
Anyway. Well, that's amazing. And guys, go to PeakNeuro, PeakNeuro.com. I had that up on the screen. I had the website showing for those of you watching on YouTube. It's down at the screen. We're going to try it. We're going to do it. And Tony, this is awesome, man. I love that people are still innovating in trying to help
this is crazy.
Unfuck our brains without turning us into medicated zombies. Anyway, I'll save that for later.
We can have a whole episode.
Save that for the live episode.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. If this shit works, I would scream it at the top of the lungs, and I would tell everybody, and I still have connections, peer support and stuff like that.
We will plug your show. Our show will plug your product for life. Like
I will get your ass into the peer support stuff that helps with PTSD and cops and PTS and cops and all that shit. And I can get you a talking spot down there. If this shit fucking works, I will make sure I will do everything in my power to get you in that
I honestly think
on that board.
I think that Tony and the Mighty Oaks would do well together too. So
I know Mighty Oaks well. One of my good friends is a retired sergeant major in the Marine Corps.
There you go.
Wow.
Now, you look up here, look at it. We didn't say much about intelligent waves. If you go to the monster.com best companies for veterans, we're number 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I love that. I love that.
65% veterans, 80% of them are combat veterans, 50% are operators. Delta, Navy SEALs, Marine Raiders. We are a bunch of green suiters who went home and put on a blue suit and went right back to work.
Oh yeah.
And we use it. All of our employees have access to this.
I love this. I'm so excited. All right. So Chuck, you have told me that our guest, because we always like to let our guests dedicate episodes first. If they have someone, Tony, you have someone.
I do. Donald J. Barker, Atlantic City Police Department. End of watch, August 15th, 2022. My college roommate, one of my best friends.
Okay. So do you know a little bit about the circumstances?
Oh, well, the circumstances, he did not die on the job. I'll tell you. He's a 6 foot 10 inch giant Irish guy. And the first time I met him, he knocked me out twice. I had to get a baseball bat. And that's how we became friends. I walked in my dorm room.
I think I have a picture, because if you're saying is this giant Irishman?
Yeah. Redhead.
All right, hold on. I think I may have him, because we want to pay tribute.
Please. 6 foot 10. Could not fit in a police car, so he was a motorcycle cop.
Nope. Is that not him?
That's not Don.
Let's find Don. 6 foot 10, Atlantic City.
Atlantic City motorcycle cop. Yep.
All right. Here we go. Donald J. Parker, Atlantic City. Go ahead. Tell us about Donald.
First time I met him, I was a freshman in college. Some giant walks into the room. All I had to eat was pretzels, and he took my pretzels. So I ran over the couch to go get him, and he punched me in the chest so hard I woke up 2 minutes later. And I got up to try and get my pretzels again. He hit me again. So I ran into my little bedroom, got a baseball bat. And as I was coming over the top with the baseball bat, he yelled, "Stop! I like you. We're friends now." That was 40 years ago. He's got a son, Bronson, who is my godson. He's got a daughter. He's got a couple of grandchildren. He was a good man. Good man. His first day on the job was his own. Oh, there he is. That's Big Don.
All right.
Ask anybody in Atlantic City. That's Big Don.
How we do it on the fly, baby. We find it.
Well done.
I was a good detective. Well, here's the thing. We love our brothers in blue and green. You know, if you do this job for a living, if you deal with human suffering for a living, if you know, it was an interesting time I had with somebody who gave a speech to a bunch of there's a mixed group of law enforcement and military, and basically what he said was, if you think the military protects your constitutional rights, you're wrong. The military fights for your rights, for your right to have constitutional rights by keeping our country intact. But it's your police officers like this gentleman here who protect your actual constitutional rights because they only apply here at home. So we always want to pay tribute to our brothers and sisters in law enforcement, and we appreciate all the years of service. Do you know how many years he was with Atlantic City Police Department?
24 years, yeah.
24 years, motor officer, 6 foot. Dude, he must have looked like King Kong riding a mini bike.
Oh, yeah. Well, we used to, when we were younger, every summer we'd take like a 2-week motorcycle trip somewhere. But you have to imagine, he's got a tattoo of John Wayne on this arm.
Oh, Jesus.
And a tattoo of Frankenstein on this arm. And the tattoo of John Wayne, he's on a horse in True Grit, except it's actual size. That's how big he is. You put that tattoo on me, the horse's head is here and his butt is all in the back of my shoulder. So wherever we would stop,
that's amazing.
If we wanted to ask for directions, no one would go near it. He'd just look like this terrible monster.
I love that.
And he was the nicest guy you'd ever want to meet.
They usually are, because they don't have to be mean.
No. I remember being in a bar in Atlantic Beach, North Carolina. I wanted to go back to Camp Lejeune to see some stuff, and we used to go to this bar. He walks in and sits down, mind his own business. Second biggest guy in the bar walks over with a pitcher of beer and says, "If there's a fight, you're on my side."
Well, I don't blame him.
Smart guy.
Well, rest easy, brother. We got it from here. Tony, thank you for coming on. We are committing to seeing you a month from now on our live show. I'm excited.
Outstanding.
We'll get that scheduled.
Thank you for having me, gentlemen.
Yeah, and we'll talk about because we can adjust when this episode comes out. Obviously, this one's pre-recorded with the live show we need to do. So we will make sure this happens. I'm not guaranteeing that we recorded this and we went live a month from now, but I am guaranteeing you that it will be a month.
Oh, good.
Chuck, go ahead.
Yeah, well, thank you all today for tuning in. Tony, thank you so much for coming on. It was a pleasure to talk to you. You have great stories and a great, just everything. It's just amazing. And I think what you've done with your career it's been, wow. That's some big accomplishments.
Chuck's very proud because you're a Marine. See a Marine succeed like this. Just
that's wild, man. It's amazing. It gives me hope. I'm not as smart, but it gives me hope, man. Thank you all today for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to follow us on Instagram at war_stories_official and our Facebook at War Stories Podcast. If you're already following, we'd really appreciate it if you could share our posts and help spread the word. You can also check us out on the link in our bio on both platforms to find all of our social media, our media links, and website. Our podcast is available on all major streaming platforms, including YouTube. Make sure on YouTube you hit that notification bell, and so anytime we go live or we post anything, you can be notified. Like it, comment on it. That would really help us out. If you'd like to support us, head over to our website, www.warstoriesofficial.com. Grab some gear. We're also going to be switching to a new drop ship link, so we will have more things available, as well
more
as
things.
Stuff. Yeah, well, we're working on some pretty awesome shit. Tom hasn't seen it. I've been the only one, myself and Marco has seen it.
Not at all.
And we're working on some shit right now that you guys are really going to like. We're going to come out with some pretty awesome stuff. I'm not going to give it away just yet. But if you want to grab some gear before the new stuff drops, because that stuff will never come out ever again, you can go over to our website, www.warstoriesofficial.com, grab some gear. Do you have a story to tell, or do you know someone who does? We're always looking for law enforcement, veterans, corrections officers, dispatchers, firefighters, medics, ER docs, and ER nurses to feature on the show. If you're interested, email us at booking.warstories@gmail.com. The gentleman who emailed me at booking, I was talking to you while I was in France. I will definitely get you on the show. I think you would be great. So I have yet to respond back, but it's because I just got back from my trip. Or you can go head over to linkedin.com /War Stories Podcast. That's probably a lot faster to get booked there. Yeah. So again, that is linkedin.com /War Stories Podcast. You can share your story there. We'd love to have you on. If you know someone who would be a great fit, please send them our way. Also, check us out on TikTok at www.tiktok.com at War Stories Locker Room. And you can also reach Dylan there at linkedin.com/War Stories Podcast. Thank you for all support. Stay safe.
You haven't done that in a while, huh? It was a little rough.
Well, I was adding a new shit. I was adding in new stuff because I have to update it.
I know, I get it. Well, it's all good. Everything's changing. It's all moving. But I wanted to say this. So we always talk to the guests a little bit before the show starts. We try to prep them, all that stuff. You guys don't know about a pre-show show, then learn about the production business. It's fine. However, I wanted to say this. We did have a pre-show conversation. And before I sign off, I wanted to tell you both. I got a text during our show. It was the exact same sword I said it was.
And we believe.
And until our next episode, come home with your shielder on it.